She is a wonder, Leah sighed. Little did I know what a gem I'd encountered when I ran into her that day in the library.
Nia was more facetious. We didn't think she was such a gem when she stranded us on her island up in Maine. I don't think I've ever been as furious with anyone before.
You were pretty furious with me before that day was out, Deirdre reminded him. His grin grew devilish.
You asked for it. Lord, I wasn't prepared for you.
He shifted his gaze to Leah and Garrick.
She was unbelievably bitchy. Had her leg in a cast and a mouth.
Deirdre hissed him into silence, but she couldn't resist reminiscing on her own. It was just as well there weren't any neighbors. We'd have driven them crazy. We yelled at each other for days.
While Leah and I were silent, Garrick said. We were isolated in my cabin together, barely talking. I'm not sure which way is worse.
Amazing how both worked out, Leah mused. Deirdre nodded. I'll second that.
We owe Victoria one, Neil said.
2, Garrick amended. Deirdre twirled the swizzle stick in her spritzer. It's a tall order. The woman has just about everything she wants and needs. Leah frowned. There has to be something we can do in return for all she's given us.
She needs a man.
Deirdre was quick to refute her husband's contention. Come on, Neil. She has all the men she wants, and you know she'll never remarry. Arthur was the one and only love of her life. Garrick exchanged a glance with Neil.
That doesn't mean we can't treat her to some fun.
Leah studied her husband. I'm not sure I care for that mischievous gleam in your eye. Victoria's my friend. I won't have you—
She's my friend, too, he interrupted innocently. Would I do anything to harm her?
Neil was on Garrick's wavelength all the way.
The idea is to do something for her that she wouldn't dream up by herself.
But she does just about everything she wants to, Deirdre pointed out. She lives in luxury, dabbles in ballet, ceramics, the cello. She travels. She has the house in Southampton. Her eyes brightened. We could rent a yacht, hire a crew and put them at her disposal for a week. She'd be able to go off alone or invite friends along. Garrick absently chafed his mustache with a finger.
Too conventional.
How about a stint with Outward Bound, Leah suggested. There are groups formed specifically for women over 40. Neil shot Garrick a look.
Not quite what I had in mind.
Deirdre had caught and correctly interpreted the look. You have a one-track mind. Believe me, we'd be hard put to find a man with enough spunk for Victoria. Can you think of anyone suitable at Joyce? Joyce Enterprises was Deirdre's family's corporation. Upon their marriage, Neil had taken it over and brought it from stagnation to productivity to expansion. Of the many new people he'd hired, or clients and associates of the company, Deirdre couldn't think of a single male who would be challenge enough for Victoria. Neil's silence was ample show of agreement. It would be fun, Leah declared, to turn the tables on Victoria. Someone good-looking, Deirdre said, warming to the idea. Leah nodded. And bright. We want a match here. Neil rubbed his bearded jaw.
He'll have to be financially comfortable if he can afford to go in for adventure. Adventure, Garrick murmured. That's the key.
Deirdre's brows lifted toward Neil. Flash? Flash Jensen was a neighbor of theirs in the central Connecticut suburb where they lived. A venture capitalist and a divorcee, he was always on the lookout for novel ways to spend his time. Neil shook his head.
Flash is a little too much.
Leah chuckled. We could always fix her up with one of Garrick's trapper friends. She'd die. Garrick nodded, but he was considering another possibility.
There's a fellow I've met, one of my professors.
Earlier, he'd explained to the Herseys that he was working toward a Latin degree at Dartmouth.
Samson may well fit the bill.
Samson? Leah echoed in mild puzzlement. She knew who he was, but nothing of what Garrick had told her in the past put the man forward as a viable candidate.
He's a widower, and he's the right age.
Deirdre sat straighter. Samson? From the name alone, I love him.
That's because you've always had this thing about full heads of hair, Neil muttered in her ear.
He'd never quite forgotten their earlier days together, when, among other things, she'd made fun of his widow's peak. Deirdre hadn't forgotten either. As self-confident as Neil was, he had his sensitivities, and his hairline was one of them. Forget hair, she whispered back. Think strength. You have it even without the hair.
You're putting your foot in deeper, he grumbled.
I think you're right. Hastily she turned to Garrick, who'd been having a quiet discussion with Leah during the Herseys' private sparring. Tell us about Sam.